Hand over all company property, my wife's brother said, his HR badge hanging like some kind of moral authority. His tone was clipped, rehearsed, the kind people use when they've been waiting to say the words. I leaned back in the chair, watching him across the table. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. The office smelled faintly of printer toner, and the weight of the manila envelope between us felt heavier than it should. It wasn't the firing that got me. I'd been in the corporate game long enough to know how it worked. Politics over merit, personal grudges over performance. What stung was why I was being fired, and the smug little smile my wife's brother wore while doing it. 2 weeks earlier, I'd found out my wife was cheating, not just with anyone, but one of the company's young interns, barely out of college, a girl half her age. I didn't find out through rumor or some anonymous email. No, my wife told me herself, casually, like it was something I just need to process before we move forward. Apparently, she and Sophie had connected during a team retreat. And my wife wasn't just cheating. She was protecting Sophie's job, even when she started showing up late, missing deadlines, and getting caught lying to clients. And of course, Sophie was untouchable, because Sophie was with her. When the complaints about Sophie started piling up, I brought it up to management. And within a week, I was called into HR. No investigation into her. No questions about my side. Just a neat little package of downsizing paperwork with my name on it. And the cherry on top, the firing came from my wife's brother. He slid a list across the table. Laptop, company phone, key card, and his eyes flicked down, building keys. I smiled. Sure thing. What he didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I'd been the one handling the building's lease renewals and legal notices for the last 5 years. I knew every clause, every loophole, every potential landmine, and I knew something they'd all ignored. The building's ownership had changed hands 3 months ago, and the new landlord had been sending unanswered notices about unpaid maintenance fees and a pending eviction order for the company's top-floor offices. I'd tried to raise the issue, but it was not my department by the time Sophie arrived. The notices were ignored, and just last week, the landlord told me they were done waiting. They'd be issuing the official eviction notice within days. So when I handed over the keys, I made sure the right key ring was on top, the one to the CEO's personal office. An hour after I walked out, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered, and the CEO's voice exploded through the line. Why is there an eviction notice taped to my office door? I almost laughed, probably because the landlord finally got tired of being ignored. You might want to check your mail. The certified letters have been stacking up. You knew about this? He barked. I did, I said evenly. I also knew my emails on the subject went straight to trash. Not my problem anymore. He sputtered, searching for words. You're responsible for this mess. No, I interrupted. I was responsible. Until you replace me with someone who doesn't know the difference between a lease agreement and a lunch menu. I hung up before he could respond. That night, I sat at a quiet bar with a glass of bourbon, watching the rain smear neon lights across the window. My phone lit up again and again, former co-workers texting in disbelief as the story spread. Apparently, the eviction notice hadn't just gone up on the CEO's door. It had been posted on the main entrance, bright orange, big enough for every client walking in to see. Sophie's name came up in the text, too. She'd been promoted that morning to acting project manager. By the afternoon, her first project was figuring out why half the staff couldn't access their offices. I didn't reply to any of them. Let them figure it out. The company had always acted like it was untouchable, like it could sweep away anyone who didn't play by its internal politics. But in the end, all it took was one ignored notice and a little patience. The best part? I hadn't done anything illegal. I hadn't forged, stolen, or sabotaged. I'd simply stepped aside and let the consequences they'd been avoiding arrive right on time. As I finished my drink, I thought about my wife, still living on the same roof, but on a different planet entirely. She hadn't texted or called all day. Maybe she was too busy trying to keep Sophie calm. Maybe she was too proud to admit she'd chosen the wrong side. Either way, I wasn't planning to be there much longer. I'd already packed a bag. I'd already signed the divorce papers, just hadn't delivered them yet. When I finally did, I'd include a little note. Keys are on the table. The locks might have changed by now,